The Volga River flowed heavy with more than water. Its currents carried the hopes of a nation, the dreams of a people yearning for freedom and survival. As Soviet soldiers and civilians alike crossed its waters, they were not just moving from one bank to another. They were crossing into a new chapter of history, one that would be written in blood and sacrifice. The fate of a continent hung in the balance with every step they took, every breath they drew, echoing the weight of their mission. On its banks, the city of Stalingrad stood defiant, a symbol of Soviet resistance against the Nazi war machine. The city, once a thriving industrial hub, now lay in ruins, its buildings shattered, its streets filled with the echoes of war. Soviet soldiers dug in, prepared to defend every inch of their homeland. The Nazi tanks advanced relentlessly, their engines roaring with the promise of conquest. Little did anyone know this industrial city would become a graveyard of empires, a place where the very soul of war would be tested in the crucible of human suffering. The streets of Stalingrad would become a battleground, where every building, every room was contested fiercely. The soldiers fought not just for territory, but for survival, for honor, and for the future of their nations. The trenches became their homes, the ruins their fortresses. The name Stalingrad held weight. It was more than just a city, it was a symbol, a beacon of hope and defiance. It bore the name of the Soviet leader, Joseph Stalin, a dictator who demanded unwavering loyalty and sacrifice from his people. His image loomed large over the city, a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. To lose the city was to lose face, to suffer a blow that could shatter the morale of the Red Army and embolden the Nazi advance. The soldiers knew this, and they fought with a ferocity born of desperation and determination. The ruins of Stalingrad became a testament to their resolve, a symbol of their unyielding spirit. The Soviet flag, tattered and torn, still flew high, a beacon of hope amidst the devastation. Exhausted but unbroken, the Soviet soldiers rallied, drawing strength from each other and from the knowledge that they were fighting for something greater than themselves. The Nazi troops, confident in their superiority, marched forward, their tanks rolling over the shattered remains of the city. They believed victory was within their grasp. The world watched, holding its breath, as two titans clashed on the banks of the Volga, locked in a struggle for survival. The headlines screamed of the battle, and people everywhere tuned in to hear the latest news. The skies above the Volga were filled with the roar of warplanes, the ground below with the cries of soldiers locked in combat. The battle raged on, each side refusing to yield. In the close quarters of the city, soldiers engaged in hand-to-hand combat, their faces etched with determination and fear. Every street, every building became a battlefield. The stakes were impossibly high. In war rooms far from the front lines, generals pored over maps, making decisions that would determine the fate of thousands. For the Germans, Stalingrad was a prize, a strategic location that held the key to the oil-rich Caucasus region. They believed that capturing the city would pave the way for further conquest. The oil fields of the Caucasus were a tantalizing prize, promising the fuel needed to power the Nazi war machine. Stalingrad was the gateway to this treasure. For the Soviets, it was a line drawn in the sand, a battle they could not afford to lose. The city was a symbol of their resistance, their determination to stand against the invaders. The propaganda posters urged them on, reminding them of their duty, their honor, and the importance of their mission. They encouraged each other, drawing strength from their shared purpose. The fate of the Eastern Front and perhaps the entire war hung precariously in the balance. The outcome of the battle would shape the future of the conflict. The soldiers on both sides fought with everything they had, knowing that the stakes could not be higher. The Battle of Stalingrad would become one of the most brutal and decisive engagements of the war. In the war rooms, the tension was palpable as generals awaited news from the front lines. The fate of nations rested on the shoulders of the soldiers fighting in the ruins of Stalingrad. The seeds of destruction were sown long before the first shot echoed across the Volga. The world was on the brink of a conflict that would reshape its very fabric. Hitler, driven by his delusional ideology and insatiable hunger for Lebensraum, had set his sights on the East, believing the Soviet Union to be ripe for conquest. His vision was not just of territorial expansion, but of a new world order under Nazi rule. Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, was launched with characteristic Nazi arrogance, a blitzkrieg designed to crush the Red Army swiftly and decisively. The German High Command was confident, almost to the point of hubris. They believed their lightning war tactics would bring the Soviet Union to its knees in a matter of weeks. But the Red Army, though initially caught off guard, proved to be a far more formidable opponent than Hitler had anticipated. The Soviet soldiers, driven by a fierce determination to defend their homeland, regrouped and launched counterattacks. The vastness of the Russian landscape, coupled with the tenacity of the Soviet soldier, swallowed up the German advance. The initial lightning strike bogged down into a war of attrition, a brutal and unforgiving struggle that tested the limits of human endurance. The harsh Russian winter, with its biting cold and relentless snow, became an ally to the Soviets, further hampering the German advance. Stalingrad, a strategically important industrial city on the Volga River, became a focal point for Hitler's ambitions. The city bore Stalin's name, making its capture a symbolic victory that Hitler craved. It was not just a battle for territory, but for ideological supremacy. Moreover, control of Stalingrad would give the Germans a stranglehold on the Volga, a vital artery for Soviet supplies and reinforcements. The Volga River was the lifeline of the Soviet war effort, and its control was crucial for both sides. The stage was set for a confrontation of epic proportions, a battle that would forever etch itself into the annals of military history. The streets of Stalingrad became a hellish landscape of rubble and ruin, where every building, every street corner was fiercely contested. The fate of nations, the destiny of millions, hung in the balance as the Wehrmacht closed in on Stalingrad. The battle for Stalingrad was not just a military engagement, but a clash of wills, a test of endurance and resolve. The outcome would shape the course of the war and the future of Europe. Like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel.